Hello guys, it's OD here with a new video in which I will be talking about what item combinations you have at your disposal in order to complement your M6 gear. A lot of items got changed with the 2.1 patch, making them a viable choice, whereas before they would be nothing but another salvage. Whether you want more toughness, more damage, more mobility, or even immunity to some CC, you have quite a few options to choose from. I've been receiving quite a lot of questions regarding this subject in the comment section, so decided to make a video that will hopefully clarify this for most of you guys. First of all, to get the obvious out of the way, you will need the Marauder 6 set in combination with Tasker and Theo. If you want more information about the stats that you'll want on those Mara pieces, you can click the annotation to go to an older video of mine to see them. If you were unlucky in acquiring a pair of Tasker and Theo, then I will also show you towards the end of the video what else you could use instead. You can click any of the annotations on screen to go to the specific item slot you're interested in seeing, be it amulets, belts, bracers, weapons, or non-TNT setups. Starting off with the amulets, I will be mentioning the items in the order I consider most relevant, from highest to lowest, so depending on which combination you have at your disposal, feel free to choose as you see fit. Also, as a main rule on amulets, you'll want dexterity, crit damage, crit chance, a socket for the legendary gem as far as optimal performance goes. Second best would be elemental damage, crit chance, and a socket. The Hellfire amulet with any of the good DPS passives such as Cold Weak, Steady Aim, Ballistics, Custom Engineering, or even Single Out, or if you got a defensive one, Awareness instead. Preferably you'll want one with the DPS passive, so when not in greater rifts you can run 5 DPS passives in total. This would also be quite amazing for the trial rift, allowing you to obtain even higher level keys. Then we have the Julius cameo. Considering the main issue in higher greater rift levels is getting one shot by jailer, this is quite an amazing amulet. You'll be missing out on the extra damage from your Hellfire one, that is if you manage to craft a good one, but again depending on the type of rift you'll be getting, it can make the difference between many corpse runs and none. Personally, I'd only use one if it rolled the perfect stats I mentioned earlier though. For more toughness, elite damage, and less damage taken from elites, you have the Blackthorn set, and by that I mean the amulet and the belt. Assuming you're using Ring of Royal Grandeur in combination with Unity if solo, or Stone of Jordan if in a party, this 3 set can be quite amazing. It will offer you 250 bite, 10% damage against elites, as well as 10% less damage taken from elites. The belt will also give you a lot of toughness by itself, since you can have dexterity, vitality, or resist and life percent on it. Of course, unless you'll be using both items and Ring of Royal Grandeur to get the bonuses, it will only be a decent amulet and nothing more. Next, I'd put any of the other immunity amulets. Most of that type of damage can be manually avoided, unlike Arcane, because of Jailer, so I don't consider them to be that important. Moving on to the bracers then, we have different options depending on what you want most. Toughness, damage, or maybe reaching that next breakpoint, as well as utility and mobility. Slave bonds are pretty much the best for max toughness, elemental damage, dexterity, vitality, or resist and crit chance. They roll with movement speed by default, so all the other stats must be perfect if you want to have a really good pair. Krell's buff bracers, it's currently only a season item, but will start dropping in non-season as well once the first season ends in a couple of months. Really good since they make you immune to stun, knockback, and vortex as well. And how many times have you died in greater rifts because of a random vortex into some other nasty affixes you couldn't avoid or outrange? Lacunis are pretty much the best option if you want to reach that next breakpoint and miss the attack speed to do it. You can have elemental damage, dexterity, vitality, increased attack speed, and crit chance after rerolling at the Mystic. The Werzekian bracers are a really good option if you want short bursts of movement speed between packs of mobs. Just use that multi-shot once, break some objects, and keep running. Steady strikers are pretty much glass cannon, having only 4 primaries rollable, elemental damage, dexterity, increased attack speed, and crit chance, but can also be an option if you want to reach that next breakpoint and didn't find a good pair of Lacunis. Moving on to the belts then. On any of the non-DPS belts, you'll want dexterity, vitality, or resist and percent life. The Witching Hour is pretty much the go-to choice if you want max DPS, as well as being able to reach your breakpoint, unless of course you're over it from your other items as well as paragon points. Preferable stats on this would be dexterity, vitality, increased attack speed, and high crit damage. Blackthorn's belt only used in combination with the amulet and Ring of Royal Grandeur, so you can get the 2 and 3 set bonuses. Then we have the String of Years, which is pretty much the best toughness belt you can get in game. It will also offer you up to 30% melee damage reduction as a bonus secondary. Harrington's is still a decent choice if you have nothing else at your disposal and can actually boost your Greater Rift progress by a lot, depending on the areas you'll be getting and whether they have clickable objects or not. The Gold Wrap can be quite fun in normal rifts, especially in combination with the Goblin legendary gem, since you'll constantly be picking up tons of gold and keeping your toughness at such insane levels, and at that point nothing will be able to damage you at all. Personally, I managed to get above 5 billion toughness with it. Onto the weapons then, you have the Atreyu. It's pretty much the best in slot bow if you're running with the usual cold build. You'll want to have high average damage, percent damage, good cold skills roll, dexterity, and a socket. Depending on how yours rolled when you do get it, check what useless stat you can roll into any of the previously mentioned ones and then add a Ramas on top of it to add the socket. Then we have the pre-patch Manticore, like the one in the image. Sadly, they changed the Manticore after the patch and the new ones don't roll with crit damage anymore. If you have stashed one away, though that's really good, you can reroll the socket into percent damage and add a Ramas on top of it. The rest of the crossbows and bows are pretty much the same, and you can choose to go with either Vite or cooldown reduction, depending on what you're missing most. I'd like to mention the Calamity as well here as a one-handed crossbow option, but only if it rolls so good that you can reroll attack speed on it and put a Ramas in and reach that 4.15 breakpoint. Keep in mind this is mostly an option for groups, where you will also have attack speed group buffs depending on what classes you're running with. Easy to reach breakpoints with Tasker and Theo are 2.16 with the two-hand crossbow and 2.84 with the bow. Don't forget to check your sheet APS when switching between different setups and recalculate your breakpoint, since in my case I sometimes have to change paragon points allocation after doing so. And now for the worst case scenario, which is the one where you don't have Tasker and Theo. There are lots of combinations that you can use instead, such as full M6 set with Stonewall Jordan and Unity, or Cinder Coat with Ring of Royal Grandeur and Unity, or Mage Fist, Hexing Pants, etc. Sadly, none of them will come close to having Taskers though. The main problem will be the breakpoints and the build you'll be running. With 2.16 or 2.84, it's really easy to have almost 100% uptime on Elemental Arrow debuff, buffing yourself with Cold Weak and Bane of the Trap. With no Taskers, the uptime will be way lower, and so will your damage. In this case, you might actually consider combining Elemental Arrow, Frost Arrow with Polar Station until you manage to get your hands on those Taskers to raise that uptime on the slow. From personal experience with the solo rift, in the end I chose to ditch the toughness needed to survive on Jailer, because at one point, no matter how much toughness you stack, you will still get one shot no matter what. Overall, it's better to just outrange it or line of sight it and have better damage in the end. Another interesting subject that came up lately is the Zay Stone of Vengeance. It's a really good gem that you can use for example for trial rifts, and it might at some point outshine the Bane of the Powerful, since you can't have 100% uptime on that one. Only issue with the gem is that Zay's works as a steady aim for sentries instead of you, so it calculates the damage bonus depending on the distance between the sentry and the mob it's attacking. I think this gem mostly outshines in group play, where you can always have mobs clumped up and stunned at a distance from your sentries, allowing you to take max advantage of the gem's power. Before wrapping this up, keep in mind this info is mostly regarding solo play, especially some item combinations and stat rerolls on helmets and boots. Generally, demon hunters in parties with stun witch doctors and such will go full out DPS. They'll be combining single target DPS skills with multi, as well as having only one debuffing the mobs, while the rest go for max DPS. I haven't really bothered with group leaderboards, only solo except 1 or 2 games. Anyways, that's about it guys, thanks for watching and I'll see you next time.